Thank you everyone for joining. As you probably noticed, Vula has been upgraded. It's very exciting. We did the upgrade on Sunday. There's one or two things that we are looking at in the background, but there's lots of new features and lots of new updates that I'm going to share with you today. At any stage, if you have any questions or if you'd like something specific demoed, I'm going to first work through the slides, and then after that, if you can just put a comment, Tasnim will probably field some of the comments, and we'll go back to like demoing any particular things. And later on, at the end of the presentation, Tasnim's also going to go through some of the templates which we've designed, which is also very exciting for Vula courses. Great. So I'm Sam. If you haven't met me before, I'm from the Vula team. Sorry, I don't have my cam on today, but yeah, I'm always willing to have a separate call with you if you want to see a face and hopefully a smile. So yeah, you can always reach us at help@vula.uct.ac.za. And let me take you through this. Ooh, okay. So the top 4 highlights that I'm going to share with you are firstly, rubrics. So rubrics has been a gap in the learning management system for a while. They are a really useful tool for students, both students and staff, to understand how to grade grade assessments and to grade them consistently and to really give that feedback. There's probably going to be some separate webinars on rubrics. They're a great learning tool and instruction tool. So you'll find rubrics on Site Setup in your list of tools. And what you do is you set up. So this is just a dummy rubric over here. You have your different criterion within the rubric. And then you have your like scale according to how many points. The one thing that I think is missing, which would be nice, is like the total points. So you do have to just calculate this. So this one would be like 72 points. So there might be another criterion for with 8 points or so. So what happens is that you can also add comments. So you can add comments for certain scales and such, and you can also, if you choose to, adjust certain marks away from the particular scale. So if you thought that maybe criterion 2 in this case was 12 marks, you could adjust that score. The really nice thing is it integrates with quite a few tools on Vula. So it integrates with assignments, tests and quizzes, forums, and Gradebook. So it's really, you can use it across tools, and you can also share rubrics with anyone in the institution. So anyone in Vula as a site owner, support staff, or lecturer can access rubrics that have been shared. So if you have some really good current rubrics that you use or are developing ones for your course, I'd really encourage you to share with people at UCT. So there's an option to share. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but basically at the where it says test rubric at the top of the screenshot, there's a little box with an arrow, and that lets you share or unshare depending on if it is shared. You can make a copy of a rubric. The one thing to note with rubrics is that if you assign it, if you associate it with any of these separate tools, what it will do is it will lock itself. So obviously you don't want to be changing the rubric while there might be students submitting and stuff. So you would have to either dissociate it or create a copy and link the copy up. So that's also one thing, just to finalize your rubric before linking it up to a specific tool. Okay, I'm going to go on because there's lots of other updates, and we can always come to demoing this if you'd like just now. So the other really nice thing is almost like a Facebook wall, social media wall, which you can add to your site. And it basically allows anyone to post what any updates, anything that's relevant, you could design it like similar to a forum, I guess. There won't be specific threads, but if someone posts an update, someone can reply to the update. So this is a very silly example with the hippo, but there will be some more contextual ones, and if anyone's got ideas, please share them in the chat. Um, so you can attach images, you can attach hyperlinks. It's a really simple tool, so nice to use. And you can, yeah, just play around with it or introduce it to your course and see if it gets adopted nicely. Obviously, explain what it is for. So one thing just to note is that if you have existing sites, we do need to update permissions for some of those sites. So it will soon be automatic. But at the moment, if you use it in an existing site, please let us know and we'll update your permissions so that everyone will have access to that. Okay, moving on. This is a really nice update. So in the text editor, you can obviously, you have your normal text, then you can include images and stuff. But what they found is a gap is that basically to have things more, I would say like almost websitey, but like almost like little widgets, like content blocks. Tasnim will be running us through some examples, but you can see, yeah, you can have little comment bubbles and such. Um, so I'll let Tasnim touch on this later, but it's really nice because you can start making your lessons page or even your announcements a little bit more visual. So yeah. Another gap that we found that the Vula community saw, Sakai community, is that people often want to obviously reuse assessments and stuff through different years, and updating all the different dates across the assessments is really cumbersome. So in site setup, there is a new date manager, so you can have access to everything together and just update things in one place. Um, so I think that's really nice for your ongoing courses. Okay. Um, Taz, was there any questions so far, or should I continue?
A few people arrived late, so they might have missed Rubik. So can I suggest that we do a demo at the end again to just go through Rubik so the people who missed it can pick it up and the people want to see a bit more can?
Okay, that's a great suggestion. Okay,
Cool.
we'll do that. Thanks. So tool enhancements. So you might notice on the overview page, or the first page when you go to a site, there's a manage overview button on the top right of your site owner. And you can kind of adjust. A lot of people don't really notice this or make much changes, but if you'd like, you can choose the different, if you want recent announcements, if you don't want that, if you want the calendar, we would recommend using the calendar tool, but some people don't. Maybe it won't be useful in your particular course. So you can remove these tools or you can adjust the layout of them. So that's for you to customize now. Gradebook has a really nice feature now. So if you have any students that have not been graded, or even graded students, so you can message people for certain, so this is a gradebook item, this assessment, and you can just message everyone that is ungraded students. There's a drop down, so you can choose graded students, or you can message the full site. So if there were certain outstanding assessments, for example, maybe if they haven't been graded, you can just send them a message. So that's quite nice as a follow-up tool. The other thing that's been added is that there's autocomplete comments. So if you are adding comments to your grading, your marks, you can now just autocomplete if there's frequent comments that you are using. I'm not sure how many people are using categories and weighting, but if you're using something called the course grade, what it does is by default it actually uses the total score. So if you have a total score out of 80 and a total score out of 100, it will rate the one out of 100 a little bit more than the 80. So some people found this really frustrating because they want, say, like the tutorials all to match the same, but they're all marked out at different um, scores. So equal weight now allows you to set that whole group of assessments to equally be weighted, and that's all available in the settings. So that's also a nice thing that has been added for
Sam,
those people. Yes.
can we just pause
Question.
before we go into the next one?
Yes.
Renee has a question. Uh, regarding the gradebook tool. So when you send a message to the students who haven't done the assignments, could one get a list of who has sent the message to? Oh, can you get a list of the students you send a message to? If I understood it correctly, Renee.
So there is a show recipients over here. If you click that, it should have the list of students that will get the message. So you just maybe take a note of that. I don't know if it would just be a copy and paste. I'd have to just check that, but we can have a look at that together if we've got time later.
Thanks. Yeah, it'd just be good to know, because if you're doing this sort of follow-up, often you want a record of it for comeback purposes later. Thanks.
Okay, great. Were there more questions?
No, that's fine for now.
Okay, great. Okay, so navigation and layout. So these are just some things to note. So the one thing I think everyone almost uses sites setup, and you'll notice that your whole list of people in the site are no longer at the bottom of the screen. And don't freak out. There is a blue message there that says that it's been moved up to manage participants. So you'll find your list of people. If you need to remove people, if you need to update their roles, that's all under manage participants. Add participants is still separate, so those two are there though. So just to be aware of that. And then the other thing that's also changed quite a lot is test and quizzes. So those people that have used it, you know that the first thing is to know the difference between a working copy and a published copy. And a lot of people used to get confused, so they'd make settings changes to working copies but not published, and it wouldn't reflect in the active test. So this is really designed more easily for people that are new to test and quizzes, and the drafts are your working copies. I would recommend not deleting your working copies, your drafts, because basically if you reuse them in a new site like next year, you want to have a copy of these. So and essentially what you do to like, if you have a whole list of assessments and you don't want to see all of them, you can just filter. So under view, underneath assignment list, assessment list, you can view and you can filter which ones you're seeing. So you can see active published, or you can see drafts, or you can see active published and inactive. So yeah, that is the update for test and quizzes. So these are new features that were added. So you'll see at the top right of any tool that you open in Vula, there's now a nice little arrows, expanding arrows, where it will expand to full screen mode. So if you're using a particular tool a lot and you'd like maximum real estate, that's very cool to have. And then you just click the collapse tool to shrink it out again. So even your students can use that. So they might like that. Yeah. And then, particularly for your long pages on Vula, like lessons, you now have a quick up to the top, scroll to the top button. So you can get back to your left menu navigation very quickly. And I think most people will notice that, and students can also use that. Okay. I am going to go on to, what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to demo some things before I go into the section. So the one request was the rubrics. And the other thing was the gradebook, the message students. Is there anything else that you would like?
People are just asking about the navigation buttons.
Okay. So the navigation button, so I'm in Gradebook at the moment, but for any tool, you'll see at the top right, there's a full screen mode. So I can go to full screen and you should be able to see my, can you see my screen? Sorry, I think I shared the presentation.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, cool. So you can see my demo, and then you can see in the top right, so this is Gradebook fully expanded. You don't see my left menu on the left at all, and then I click the shrink and then it goes back. So that's the navigation I was referring to. And the other one is, so okay, this Gradebook item, this Gradebook page is quite long for some reason, but now say I scroll right at the bottom and then I need to quickly go back and I need to go to like announcements. I just jump to top and then I can go to anything on the left or go to a different site. So they're just like quicker navigation and easier to use, really. You might test it out for you. It might work. It might be helpful. It might you might not use it. So let me just show you. So I said like, okay, so I got block 3 assessment over here, and I want to message all students. So I say message students. Unfortunately, the students in this course are myself in different roles. But I could message ungraded students and then show recipients. So it actually lists the name and the first name and last name. So I guess you could make a copy of that if you needed. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to show the student number, which would be nice too. So you can message graded students, ungraded students, and all students. And you can filter by particular group if you had groups. Okay, great. Rubrics. Let's have a look at rubrics. I think my rubrics are on the bottom of my site. So let me just show you. So under Manage Tools, where you add all your tools, you now have rubrics available here. I've already added it on my site, so I'm going to click Cancel. But you can obviously add it there.
And Sam, can you just explain the basics again, since many people missed your initial slides?
In terms of pedagogy,
just like like a summary of what you explained earlier.
Okay,
like what the tool is and what it's used for.
Yeah, so rubrics works with all your assessment tools, assignments, tests and quizzes, gradebook, and also forums. And it's really helpful in terms of consistency. I mean, you might have tutors that are grading assessments, and it just really helps so that you can make those rubrics available to students, or you can choose not to, but it's really nice in terms of feedback for students so they can see where they got their marks, where there were gaps. You can leave comments on rubrics and you'll have scores. Let me show you a rubric first. And I see my colleague Shanali Govender from SILT has already shared some rubrics publicly across the institution, which is wonderful. And you can do that too. So here is a blog rubric. So if I click that and expand, so all the shared rubrics are under their own submenu here. And yeah, she says, okay, so yeah, you have your different criterion. So if there's evidence provided in your blog, there's a rating scale from oh dear to exceptional, and the scores are associated with that. So I was saying the one thing that you just would like to check is for the total scores, just to calculate that makes a sensible number. So in this case, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10 points each. So it's a total score of 60 for this particular assessment. You would also then check if you're associated with assignment or a test and quiz that, well, not test quiz, say assignment that assignment would be marked out of 60. So that
Sam,
everything makes
is
sense.
this available only to assignments and forums, or is it to any gradebook item?
Assignments, forums, gradebook, any gradebook item,
Cool.
and test and quizzes.
Thank you.
Test and quizzes is certain question types. So it's short
Short answer.
questions, yeah, file uploads, and audio responses. So those are the ones. Obviously, MCQs you don't really grade with a rubric. So okay, so I have created some really general, boring rubrics here. So let me, these are just like dummy ones. So I can make a copy over here. I can share this, but if I click share, it will share with everyone across UCT. So I don't really want to share. But if you do click share, let me do it very quickly and show you. So I click share and I refresh. Hopefully no one will try and use my rubric, which doesn't make sense. You see my custom rubric, and then that's in the institutional list, and I'll click unshare over here. So if you do share it, then you can just unshare it and it disappears there. So let's edit the rubric. Oh, I see my rubrics are locked. Does anyone remember why it gets locked? No response.
It's
Okay,
attached to an assessment.
it's attached to assessment. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so let's call this essay 1. I'm hoping you'll be a little bit more creative or consistent with your rubrics. So what you do is you can add a certain criterion. I'm not very imaginative with these things. Criterion, which would be, okay, say even you could like have grammar and design consistency. You can add in extra like ratings, so like super exceptional, make that out of 5. You can copy these. So as you can see, you start like building your rubric. And I hope that makes sense, but I'm happy to take any further questions if there is about rubrics.
Sam, we got 2 questions. So one, can the rubric be shared with specific people? I'm assuming maybe people in departments might want to share rubrics. And then another question about how do you actually go about attaching a rubric to an assignment?
Okay, cool. So the first one is unfortunately not. I would just be very clear in terms of if you want to set up department ones, maybe just clearly label that it's for that particular department. You can't share with specific people. And then these will be site rubrics though. So that's good. So in terms of like if you're using it for a particular course, you can then just have it on that course. Let me attach it to assignments. Let me see where my assignments are gone. So my assignment list. Oh, okay. I wanted to actually show you the new grader too. That's what it was loading. Okay, so I'm setting up essay 1, some text. Oh, I forgot to mention this. This is actually quite nice. Let's see, it's on by default. So you can send an email reminder to students 24 hours before the due dates. So that's, yeah, so that can hopefully encourage them to submit as soon as possible. And then I'm just looking for the grading. Grade this assessment. So say we use the essay 1, the blog 1. So I would make this out of 60 because we said the rubric was 60, and use the following rubric. Okay, I didn't make a copy of that, but say the essay 1 was out of 60, you can preview your rubric. As I said, sometimes you won't want to stick to that particular score, so you might say adjust the individual score, and I would recommend leaving the rubric available for the student to see. And you can also send assessments to Gradebook. Let me just show you. Okay, so if I grade essay 1 and I go into, so the student actually hasn't submitted yet. Okay, I have to go to this assessment because I need a submission there first. I've actually used this rubric already. So the rubric, the grading will only be available once the student has submitted. And over here on the right, you'll see grading rubric. So yeah, you see, okay, maybe I'll adjust this in this case. This meets expectations. So it highlights blue, and then maybe I would say it's actually 1.5, you know, it's in between. So if you tick that option to adjust individually, this allows you, otherwise it will stick to these. You won't get the little box, and you can leave a comment. Just going to leave a random comment, and then it goes orange, and so basically you can just adjust these. The total mark then will be over here, and that will update in your grade. So this was I was saying, this particular assessment, your assignment, you should actually check that this matches your total, which in this case is actually 25. So the max should be 25. But I was just playing around with this, so thankfully it's not going anywhere.
Thanks,
I do want to show you something as two things before we leave assignments. The one thing is there's a new grader. So if you click this, there's still one issue that we are sorting out with the grader. So you see, it actually, so what it has is all the grading on the right hand side, and there your assessment will essentially load. For some reason, you have to click the assessment title at the moment, so that's the issue we're sorting out. And then you have the student's PDF or doc file that they've uploaded, which is really nice because then you don't need to download and so many assessments, and you can just do all your marking online. And you see there's your gradebook icon already. You can also leave some private notes. I think that's available to you and instructors, lecturers. So I don't know if you want to say the student needs more development, or plagiarism cases, I guess even. So that's there, and that's a really nice thing that you can test out. Let me show you quickly the one. Yes.
Just on the grader, I have a few other questions about rubrics, but on the grader, when do you estimate that will be released?
I think it will be released by next week. That's my feeling. Okay. So the functionality is all there. It's just that it's got that little glitch. So hopefully even, I don't want to promise, but I think next week. So if you want to test it out, you can still use it. You just need to click the assignment the title of the document. You can go use grader to grade submissions. The good news is I don't know if everyone will be, but maybe people will still only be grading in week 2. So but we're trying to get that fixed as soon as possible. Yes, there you said you had some rubrics questions too.
Oh yes, let me just ask.
So Renee, will the grader work if students submit an image file?
I don't think so.
Just PDF and doc.
Yeah, I think we'll test that, but I don't think so. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people are using scanned images nowadays. but this was originally designed for the more document style files. But I'll let you know if that is available too when we announce it.
Thank you.
Cool.
There were 2 rubrics questions. So Renee asked, will she be able to use the rubric in a course next semester? So are your rubrics like sort of linked to your name and they just continue with you? Or would she have to share it across, like share the rubric to have it accessible for the next time?
So I'm pretty sure when you duplicate a site or you import content, I think it will bring it across there. That would be my expected, what I think it would do. So I don't think you need to, yeah, I think you can just import it. Yeah.
And then the next question is, can the students see the rubric prior to doing the assessment? Assuming that they haven't clicked hide rubric.
Actually, that's a good question. What I'm going to do now is actually become a student so we can have a look at what they do see.
I will say in the interim that we will have separate webinars on the assignment grader and on the rubric to show you exactly how things work. So this webinar is mostly to show you the various tools and for you to go play with them.
Okay, so let's see for essay 1, for example. Oh, okay, yes, I see a rubric there. They have said that the rubric is available. Oh, yes, preview rubric. So the student can see the rubric there. So you could inform the student that they just need to click it. And I think if you go in student view, you should be able to see it and see like that's where they access the rubric. You might want to include it in assignment instructions, but I think that's... So also what you'll notice here is I wanted to show you is that you have a bar at the top. So this is the students and what they see. So you have a draft in progress, then you have submitted, and then you have returned. So if you go back, for example, the student has submitted for test 2, you'll see draft is done, submitted is done, and returned is when they'll get their mark. So they can just keep an eye on that. And yeah, the mark, the grade, the rubric and grade have not yet been released. That's why the student can't yet see that in this particular case. Okay, great. Is everyone happy for us to go on, or is there any other questions?
No other. There was one. Can we do the become a student thing that you did? But I said that's admin functionality, and that there is a preview the site as student functionality available to us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a superpower with Vula admins. I would say great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
There. So we have to, yeah, we have to make sure that we don't kill or explode Vula. No. Let me just show you. I'm sure you might be aware that this view site as student, that's the one that you'd want to click.
Yeah.
So, and then it does this green bar, so you know that you're in the student view. And actually, if for assignments, you can click student view. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I am going to move away from this and go back to the slides. Okay, so the one really awesome thing that I'm clicking the wrong button. The one really awesome thing that has been added is course templates and pages. And thanks so much to our learning designers, particularly Tasnim, that's really led on this. So one thing that I think was being quite complex with lessons is if you're new to online teaching, lessons is just like a blank page. And there's no like templates or blocks, and we kind of saw this gap where people weren't really sure where to get started. So we've created some templates designs. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong screenshot. Okay, Tasneem's going to take you through the template design suite, but when you create a site, you can do this under create site from templates. Instead of build your own site, that's the default, and then you can see the new one, which is actually called 2020 course site, available there. So if you haven't created your course site, you might want to do that, and then you can always import your previous content to the site, like your resources and stuff, but it gives you a really nice design. This is example, this is not the, yeah, this is example, some of the pages on the template site. So you can also import, if you have created it, you can import individual pages. So the one that has been created is your lessons. So essentially like your module, your text, and you can rename this, update this. That's just a layout and way of styling it. And then your course outline. So it's got a whole lot of suggestions of type of content that you'd want to include in that. So there are those two templates. And then a reminder again about the text editor content template. So the really nice thing is with you, as you saw there, there's the speech bubbles and stuff. So we've used a lot of these, incorporated a lot of these content templates into those course templates. So you don't need to think too much, and you can focus more on the actual content that you are designing. Before I hand over to Tasneem, which is going to show you, demo that, I just wanted to say the last thing from my side is what we've done is we've also added a UCT supports, student support services page. So if you have any recommendations of information that should go there, I'll send through the link. If you want to, you can include that link in one of your course templates or one of your, in your announcements or such. Yeah, I think it's really, if you haven't seen the results of, there was a student experience survey. One of the things is a lot of anxiety, mental health, and there were also issues like course design that were highlighted in that. So we've really tried to speak to those. I'll share that link to the student experience survey in the chat in a few minutes. So also have a look at that. But we will also circulate it with Vula site owners. That is everything from my side. Tim, I'm going to hand over to you so you can
Cool.
Okay, pause sharing. Oh, stop sharing. Okay, you should be able to.
Cool, I will share now. Do you mind answering Alison's question in the chat, please, while I start sharing, or even verbally while I share?
I'm just getting to the chat. Let me see. Is anyone, Alison, do you want to? Is this a question? Is there a way for group members to each add a single image to a common place in Vula lessons so that it is accessible, visible to all? Alison, are you talking about students? Group members?
Yes,
okay,
I am. Yes,
okay.
I am.
Okay. So what you can do is you can have a student pages, and I think you can set it to the whole group. So you could just set that all students have access to edit that page, so they could do that. But a safer way, because that also means that other students can delete each other's, is maybe just have a resource folder where any student can upload to that. So you can set up permissions for the resources that they can upload. I hope that helps, but you can drop us a mail at help@Vula if you want. And then
Thanks.
there was another question about from Janet. You responded to that one already. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm going to hand over to Tasneem.
Cool, thank you. Sam, just guide me if you need to along the way.
Okay.
So with the new upgrade, we've now developed templates on various levels to make site creation a bit easier for you. So the one thing we've done is we created a course template. So if you are creating a course from scratch, you can now use a template that we've made with pre-populated tools and content for you to customize. So I've popped a link in the chat, which if I'm not mistaken, it's a public link, so you can see the template that we set up. So for example, this template contains a bunch of pre-populated tools in your left-hand navigation. On the course overview page, we've populated it with some content that we think could be useful for you on the overview page. And what's important for all the templates is that you have to go through the content and change it to suit your course and your context. So on the overview page, we have sort of a heading, a little welcome message. You can pop a photo in over here where it says instructor speaking. And then we just have a little summary about your course, some important links to contact information. So this is the overview page. Then we have something called the course outline page. So if you are creating a course outline, you may already be using a PDF, or you may be using an embedded Google Doc, for example. If this is a third option, I guess, if you'd like. So we've set up a course outline page that contains all the key information or key components that makes up this page. And you would simply go to the editor to change the content for your context. And we've given you some examples here as well. So this is the course outline page. We have a section for course structure, the readings, assignments, your GP criteria, what is the process if people hand in late or students hand in late, and then we have a table here for sort of the timeline for your course and which topics are being taught which week and with the associated lecturer. So this is the course outline page. Before I go to the lesson template, we have a student services page. So this is the page that Sam showed you earlier. So this page is simply a link to that page, and this is basically an embedded page. So we will update this page centrally, and this page will update automatically. And then finally, we have the lessons template. So I hope everyone has been to a lessons webinar. If not, I recommend you attend one in the next week or two. But basically, the lessons template is where you would design your content for your topics and your subtopics or your submodules. And we basically set up a basic page that has like your heading, a little bit of instructional text, some key information for your module, the key activities that students have to do for the module. And then you'd probably enter sort of your content for the week. So perhaps you have screencasts, narrated PowerPoints, textbook chapters that you will insert over here. And then at the end, we've left sections for the possible assignment linked to that module, a section for if you have a forum for the week or a Q&A, you can link that as well. And then we've ended off with a checklist. So yeah, this is our course template, and you can actually import this entire template if you are creating a course from scratch. So I'm going to show you how to set up the template through the worksite setup. Is everything okay so far, Sam?
Sorry, yeah, everything is good.
Cool. Okay. So to set up a template, you'd go to Home.
Oh, sorry, I see that there is a question from Renee. So Renee, yes, sorry, we do understand that some people have been already setting up their course sites. And maybe it's something you just want to look at for term 4. Essentially, you can import just a page, so you don't need to start a new site. There is instructions on how to do that. Okay, and that also responds to Caroline's query.
Yeah, we'll get to that part where we can show you how to add bits to what you've already done as opposed to using the full template. The full course template is for people who are starting completely from scratch, and we'll show you how to do the other versions. So to import the course template, you'd go to Home, Worksite Setup, Create New Site. Then you would click Create Site from Template. you would select the 2020 course template over here. Scroll down, you would select your term, and then you would follow the next steps to go to roster selection. So I don't actually have, Sam, I don't actually have a course, so should I just do the other way to set this?
You can do a course. Yeah, still
Okay.
cannot find your section.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do that one for
So
now.
I'm basically just doing a different way to set up a course site because I don't have a course assigned to me. So you would follow the typical way you would typically set up a course. So I just call it a test for now. And I would click create site from template. Basically, I now have a very terribly named site, but basically I have a site that's pulled in all these pages and pre-populated tools. And now I can just edit it. So this is the one way to use the template that we've made. But obviously some people have already set up their sites for second semester and you don't want to start from scratch. So I'm going to show you the next what you can do. Lauren?
Hi, I want to ask if you can maybe only import the course outline, for example.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
So we do have a document that we're going to share with you. I don't know if Sam or someone wants to pop it in the chat, but we have a document to show you how to import a specific page. So if you only want to import the course outline, then you can do that. But what I'm going to show you now is how to actually just add certain blocks to your pages so that if you already have your pages set up, you can just add some extras to it. And then if we have time, we can do the import one as well. Is that okay?
Awesome, thank you.
Cool. Maybe someone just pop that lessons guide in the chat. So I'm on my test site at the moment, and we have something called, what are we calling it? Text editor content template. So basically, if you look at my screen, you'll see a whole lot of things. So you'll see a module heading, you'll see an intersection title, you'll see this little, it's called a Sakaiga, and a little hiatus name, which uses my first name, and a little bit of instructional text. Then we have learning outcomes, key information, key activities. So we have a whole bunch of templates that we've set up for you that you can add with a few clicks. And I'm going to show you how to add that with a few clicks. We have little sections for an assignment or for a discussion forum. If you want to highlight any key ideas on your page or even set up a warning, you can do that as well. So I'm going to show you how to add this to your page. So I'm just going to add another page. Sign up. Cool. I now have a blank lessons page. So to use those templates that I just showed you, you would go to add content, add text, and you would get your text editor. Gosh. There's a magical button over here that's called templates. When you open templates, you'll see a whole bunch of a list of items. And these are all the items that I just showed you. So for example, if we wanted to build a page title or lesson title, we would click the first one. And perhaps we would call it Module 1 Vula webinar or something. And when we click save, we now have a little heading. So what would we want next? Maybe we want some instructional text. So you can either add all your templates after one another, or you can do them in separate blocks as I am doing. So now maybe we want to add a little bit of instructional text. So the cool thing about this instructional text is that you can actually add a photo here to display your face, so to make it feel like the instructor or lecturer is present in the lessons page. So I'm just going to use the cat. I can't see it. Oh no, sorry, it went away. One second. Okay. I now have a cat displayed. and you'll see it says, hi, first name. So this is a little bit of a code. And I would replace this text with welcome to the week or welcome to the webinar and click save. And we now have a little cat that's welcoming us to the module. Then, for example, we may want to add our learning outcomes for the week. And we can click learning outcomes. So what's important to know about these templates is that it's all dummy text. You have to go into it and obviously change what your learning objective will be. So perhaps our LOS is to discuss new features of Vula. And you'll click save. So this is just a really easy way to build your lessons page. If you already have set this up, you can just use the blocks that work for you or the templates that work for you. I'll pause there, Sam, because there's about 5 minutes left. Are there any like important?
There's just some discussion going. So so the templates themselves should work in announcements. I don't know if all the visual stuff will turn out in the actual email, but it will definitely show on Vula.
Yeah.
And then, but unfortunately, the first name that functionality Tasnim showed us is not available for announcements. It only works in lessons. That's the one catch.
Yeah,
okay.
it only works in lessons.
There's a question from Betty. Can you show us how to add the timeline? The table showing the dates.
So actually the timeline is not part of the template blocks. It's actually just part of the course template. So because the course outline, that table's only probably going to be used on this page, it wasn't added as a template. So the templates are more for reusable features, but you can import this page and get access to this table if you want to edit it. So yeah, or you can create it from scratch if you like. I'm not going to change this, but for example. We can also discuss adding new templates if needed. Asanda?
Yeah, hi. I think it's a lot to absorb, so my question may have been answered, but I will ask it anyway in case it wasn't. I have already created a page, the course page, but I want to bring in some of these things you've just shown us. So this course outline, I have the usual old school one, and I'd like to use what you've just shown us here because I think it's actually it's really nifty and students can see so much all at once and it's very clear. How do I bring in this template onto something that I've already created and just edit that? How do I do that?
So there's a document we linked in the chat. And if you go into that document, there'll be a section on importing pages. And you will import the course outline to your course site and change the content to suit your course. Is that fine? Asanda? You might be on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I'll go through the document then. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And if you get stuck, please just email help@Vula. Are there any other questions related to the templates? So just to show you while we're here, so for example, to import the pages, like the course outline page and the lessons page, you would, the instructions are in the document, but I'll just show you quickly. You would go on a lessons page. So this is my lessons page now, a blank one. You would click this button that says more tools, right? And there's a little button there that says import cc/cp. You would click that and import the file that we've linked to in the document. And then basically, once you import that file, there'll be a new tab on your left-hand side that is called course outline.
Yeah, so those, I did share the guideline document earlier. Yeah, it can be, it will obviously, you just have to work out how to do it the first time.
Yeah.
I will share maybe those links specifically in that file.
Yeah, hopefully that wasn't too overwhelming. Sam, do you have any last words?
No, I think that's great. Thank you for everyone for attending. I hope you're excited about the changes. And please drop us a mail or just contact us if you're interested in anything or you're getting stuck with anything. I've added the lessons webinar for this week, and obviously you can find everything on our remote teaching page. We'll probably make this webinar or next week's webinar available recording, so you can also check the remote teaching page for that. Yep, that's everything from outside.
Thank you, everyone.